US President Joe Biden has laid down a very clear marker during his first 100 days that engagement with Asia matters. He sent his top diplomat and Pentagon chief to visit key allies while welcoming Japan's Prime Minister to Washington. Much of it is to act as a deterrent to China and a fulfilment of the president's promise to build an alliance of allies to counter Beijing's growing dominance. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
During his first 100 days, President Biden has prioritized Asia above any other region.
He recognizes that the Indo-Pacific region is the most important place in the world, particularly as we look ahead economically and strategically. Also, I think he recognizes that there's a lot of repair he needs to do.
The Secretaries of State and Defense have helped rebuild those alliances, making Japan and South Korea their first trips. And President Biden met virtually with the Quad, the leaders of India, Japan and Australia, to reaffirm the US commitment to the region.
The agenda is quite broad. It does encompass security, but also economic development, climate, energy. So it's a very robust agenda and one that I think has potential for broader networking in the region as well.
President Biden has also welcomed Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga as his first world leader to the White House.
Mr. Prime Minister, thank you for being here. It's been my pleasure.
Their discussions were not just on countering China, with them also announcing affirmative action in areas of technology, climate and supply chain cooperation.
Having a positive agenda based on our values, priorities, an open trading system, as well as kind of an open internet technology system, I think that is going to resonate more in Asia than just saying, let's all, meet and talk about how terrible China is and how we're all going to act against it.
North Korea policy, though, has been noticeably absent so far. President Trump engaged in face-to-face meetings, but with little discernible results. Partly why the Biden administration is conducting a North Korea policy review to determine next steps.
There's no easy fix, but I think we might see some kind of phased approach with working level diplomacy at first. And if that bears fruit, maybe other things down the line. But I think the Biden administration's instinct, first and foremost, is to coordinate a joint strategy with allies.
Heading into Biden's presidency, Asia watchers were also expecting more engagement with Apec and Asean, two regional forums that were largely ignored by the Trump administration. We could even see the president himself traveling to the region for the high-level meetings that take place later this year. And there's perhaps one other area to consider.
And that's on trade. You have two competing regional trade initiatives, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, and CPTPP, the new version of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The Biden administration so far hasn't really sent any signals about whether it's going to re-engage.
Engagement is underway, but experts think it'll be some time before the full extent of the Biden administration's multilateral trade plan is known. Nick Harper, CNA, Washington.
Thank you again, everyone.
For more perspective into President Biden's Asia policy, we're joined by Professor Joseph Liao. He's Dean of the College of Humanities, Arts and Sciences at Nanyang Technological University here in Singapore. Professor, former presidents have put Asia front and center in their foreign policy agenda. Obama had his pivot to Asia. How is President Biden's policy different?
Well, I think for one, looking at the Biden administration and what it has done so far, you can sense a degree of urgency in terms of how it has gone about trying to engage allies and partners and set certain things in motion. But at the same time, we should bear in mind that there is a striking degree of continuity as well between what the Biden administration has been doing thus far and the predecessor administration, the Trump administration. In fact, what is interesting is there's more difference probably with the Obama administration than there is with the Trump administration, at least going by what we have seen thus far.
Professor Liao, one of those degrees of continuity, as you put it, is that Mr. Biden has stayed tough on China on a number of issues. How would you evaluate the prospects of Sino-US relations under his leadership?
Well, I think it is going to be very challenging. I think we have witnessed that the relationship with China is becoming more and more competitive across a very vast domain. Of course, this is not unique to the Biden administration in the sense that it's not something that's only occurring now. In fact, it even predated the Trump administration. Towards the tail end of the Obama administration, already we saw that the differences were starting to emerge between Xi Jinping's China and the United States. So we're looking at this pattern, and it looks like the trajectory is one where things are going to get even more challenging for both powers, and the search for some kind of equilibrium, while important and while urgent, it's going to be difficult given how high the stakes have been raised by both parties, mind you.
With that said, then, do you think that the trade war with China will continue? Is there a way where these two, the first and second largest economies in the world, will be able to come together with some agreement?
I mean, we all hope for that to happen, but the reality is that the approach that the United States is taking on trade today appears to be quite significantly different from what it had been doing before. And we need to realize that the faster the international society realizes that and adjusts to it, I think the better for them. The United States is talking now very much about free and fair, with the emphasis being on fair trade as defined by the United States itself. That has created some complications for, if you think about our region, for example, and our desire to have the US re-engage the region on trade, on economics. The Biden administration has been conspicuously silent on that so far. And I really think it will take some time before we can see or we can identify any sort of indicators that they are prepared to come back to the regional trade architecture.
Well, Joe Biden's been very keen to reach out to his Asian allies since becoming president. South Korean President Moon Jae-in is going to meet Mr. Biden next month, in fact, and North Korea is going to be a major topic of discussion, of course. How will Biden, tackle this issue of Pyongyang?
Well, I think President Biden made it very clear in his in an earlier press conference, his first press conference, that the Korean Peninsula is going to be a policy priority for his administration. I think the sense now is that what the Trump administration tried to do was very much, long on form but short on substance, right? And hence this review that is currently being undertaken. The Biden administration has made it very clear that as far as they are concerned, the complete and verifiable denuclearization is a non-negotiable priority. I think it's going to be challenging to get the North Koreans to agree to that. I mean, it had always been challenging. I think the North Korean regime knows very well that the one thing that gives it visibility and standing in the international arena is its nuclear capability. It tested the Biden presidency in the early days when it tested two missiles, I believe, and that created quite a stir. This is something that is not out of the ordinary. I think the North Korean regimes have tended to want to test American administrations before. So we really need to see what the Biden administration is going to pull out of its hat for Korea or the Korean Peninsula. Currently, I think there are very little indicators.
And what about for us here in Southeast Asia? Professor, just quickly, your thoughts on how US-ASEAN relations are likely to go. We've been largely neglected for the last 4 years.
Yeah. Well, sad to say, we're not looking very high on the agenda for the Biden administration. I think quite clearly, as far as Asia is concerned, their policy lies elsewhere, and they're pursuing their interests via other mechanisms like the Quad, for example. I think that we also have to consider the fact that there are a number of positions in the sub-cabinet and in the various arms of the government that remain unfilled as it relates to Asia policy. So that is going to take some time, and that will drag the process of trying to devise a more coherent approach towards Southeast Asia also. But it's quite clear where the priorities are.
All right, many thanks for your thoughts this evening. Professor Joseph Liao, Dean of the College of Humanities, Arts and Sciences at Nanyang Technological University, right here in Singapore.